Okay, welcome guys. So I want to go over objection handling with you. Now, objection handling is a huge topic, and it's one of those things that you're not going to get perfect at by watching kind of this 15 minute video. But the one thing I really want to preface and really want to get you thinking about is I want you thinking about objections differently, right? Because you need to understand that you're going to get objections in every single sales call, right? There are a few exceptions where you're going to jump on a call with the prospect and they're actually just going to buy from you without getting an objection. But it's part of the sales process, right? You're going to get them, just get used to them. And, when you get an objection, it doesn't mean that someone doesn't want to buy from you. It means there's a level of uncertainty there. There's something they're unclear on. There's, you maybe haven't explained something properly in your service or the product you're selling, or you just need to kind of work with them and kind of get an understanding of what they kind of need to think about or what the objection really is. So it's your job to find out exactly what that uncertainty is and work through it with them to actually overcome it. Because I see it time and time again, right? And I see it obviously, some of the students I work with as well kind of fall into this trap, is that when a prospect says something like, I need to think about it, I can't afford it, let me go speak to my partner. These are kind of the most common objections you're going to get. The sales rep is just going to plug in some automated response they've heard in some other sales training or from some big name in the space or from a recording they've heard where they think that's an excellent explanation of how to get someone to overcome that objection. And they just expect to crush the objection and that to be the end of it. It doesn't work like that, right? You need to use your brain. You need to use your common sense here, and you need to really understand your prospect. And this kind of circles back to the start of the call, where you need to think that objection handling doesn't necessarily have to start once you've made your pitch and once you've kind of stated your price, right? A lot of it is going to happen in the discovery. An ineffective and weak discovery will mean that you're never going to be able to objection handle properly when you come to it. So that front end of the call, that discovery is really important in obviously digging deep enough within actually what the prospect wants and why they're there and what the end outcome they're kind of looking for, to then get an understanding, okay, what objections might come up here. And you can kind of handle a lot of them on the front end, right? If someone says like, yeah, it's really a timing thing for me whether this is going to work. If they say that in the front of the call, in the discovery, we'll be like, okay, cool, let's get into it. Like, what exactly timing do you think you need? What's your day-to-day look like? How can we make this work for you? And you can almost work with it through them and kind of paint that picture of how it would look if they were to get started before you jump into the back end of the call, right? So it really does start in the discovery. And if you don't have an effective discovery, you won't be able to handle objections. The way I see this is like the discovery phase of the call, the start of the call, is really where you're gathering ammunition. You're really arming yourself and really understanding the prospect. I don't want you thinking about this like a fight, but it's a good analogy. You need to be arming yourself and getting yourself ready so that when you come to the end of the call where they do start throwing objections at you, you're ready for them. You have the ammunition. You have kind of their needs, their wants, their reasoning, why they're there, to then obviously handle them effectively, right? Because if you rock up to that end of the call and you haven't got any ammo, you haven't even got any of the weapons you need in order to handle the objections effectively, you're not going to get anywhere, right? You're not going to be able to dive deep enough. And also on that, if a prospect hasn't opened up to you and you haven't dove deep enough in the discovery phase, it's really hard to actually do the objection handling at the end because you haven't built that rapport. You haven't built that trust. That prospect hasn't opened up to you in the front of the call. Therefore, why are they going to open up on the back of the call, right? Why are they going to now kind of go into all their problems and really what they're facing, what they're struggling with, and why they want to think about it if you haven't been able to extract any information from them on the front of the call? So the discovery is super important in actually setting yourself up for, an effective rest of the call, an effective pitch where you're pitching, the outcome they want, but then also handling those objections in an effective manner where you will be able to convert them. So things I really want you to think about is obviously just taking your time to find out what the objection really is, right? So ask questions about what the prospect has just told you. These, I need to think about it, I can't afford it. These are just surface level. You need to dig your heels in and really understand the root of the objection, right? And I'm going to jump over and kind of talk you through this with a few diagrams now. As you can see here, I've pre-drawn these to save myself the embarrassment and you the time of trying to draw these out. But Charlie Morgan actually explains this one quite nicely. And I really like how he explains it. Not all objections are equal, right? When someone says, I need to think about it, there's not always the same level of resistance there. Not I need to think about it is equal. I need to think about it could be cool. What do you need to think about? Well, I need to think if this is going to work for me. Well, look, we've worked with people like you before. We've worked with XYZ. This is the result we got them. I know for a fact if we were to work with you, we get the same. Okay, cool, I'll buy, right? So think about it as in they're 100% no, they're never going to buy. If they're up here, obviously, yeah, you're going to have to loop and you're going to have to kind of throw the rebuttals back at them a bunch of times in order to get them down and along so they actually are 100% buy and they want to buy from you, right? So not all objections are equal. That I need to think about it. It could be that you go through it a bunch of times with them and really find out what that is. And that I need to think about it could simply be something like that, right? It could be that the price, for example, is slightly out of budget for them. But cool, well, let's work through that together. What budget do you have? What can you work with? Okay, well, I really had this allocated for it. Let's say they thought it was 2K. Your product was 2K and it actually is 5. Cool, well, yeah, I can afford 2K now and I can afford 2K in a month. And it's like, okay, cool, we'll put you on a payment plan and we can get that worked out. Cool, easy, right? Straight away, you're getting the sale. But I need to think about it. Could be where you really need to work through a lot of fear with them potentially. They could be really fearful of actually getting started and you need to try and slowly bring them down and build up that certainty to a point where they actually are going to buy. So think of, you don't know when you come into an objection where on the scale the person's going to be, but I want you to think of it like a scale and you need to handle every single objection like maybe they're 100% no, for sure. But just think about it in this sense that most prospects are closable, right? There's a level of uncertainty. There's something they're unsure of. You need to figure out, okay, cool, well, what is it? What is it they're unsure about? Is it a logistical issue? Is it something in your program or your service that they don't know how exactly they're going to get the results with it? Or is it something kind of more emotional where they've worked with someone, let's call it a marketing agency before, and they haven't got results and they want to ensure that they can get results with you, right? So think about it like a scale. And then the next thing I really want to preface as well, when you're handling objections, the way I like to think about it is framing, right? Your framing here is super, super important, right? As a salesman, it's your job to fully understand a person's situation and really obviously understand whether this is something that's going to work for them. And normally, 9 times out of 10, if they're on the call, you've qualified them and they are kind of the kind of person you actually work with, they fit your client demographic, there's a chance you can help them, a very high chance you can help them. And you need to have 100% conviction that you can help them and this is something that's going to work for them, right? I always will go into every single sales call knowing I can fully help this person once I've gone through the discovery and I figure out they're a good fit. But if they're on the call, they probably are a good fit. So I go in with 100% conviction that I'm going to be able to help this person. And I know for a fact, if you were to work with us, you would get the results. And I'm so confident in it. We offer guarantees. We offer payment plans. We've worked with guys similar to you. We've got all the results to back it up. Therefore, I know we can help. So I've got 100% conviction in the product I sell. I've got 100% conviction in, say, Club Closer, for example, right? But obviously, when you have someone jumping on a call with you, they might come on with a level of doubt. Is this going to work for me? Is it worth the money? Do I have time for this? All these objections you're going to get, right? They're going to come in with their frame of doubt, right? And you've got your frame of 100% conviction, 100% certainty. So what I want you to do is I never want you to go and meet your prospect in their frame of doubt, right? Well, I don't know if this is going to work for you, right? Because what you're doing is you're walking along and you're going to meet them. And if you were stood here, what's going to happen? Well, physics tells us that this is going to go down and you're never going to be able to get them back into your frame of certainty. So what you need to do with your objection handling is you need to slowly edge them step by step closer to your frame of conviction where you are so convinced, you are so certain that you can help this person that ultimately they're going to come and join you in your frame of 100% conviction. So if that were to happen and he was to walk across here towards you, just obviously want to use an example to try and kind of really ingrain this in your brains, then obviously this is going to go down and we're going to win the sale, right? So holding your frame throughout obviously the whole entire sales process, but more so in objection handling, is so important. It's so important that if you meet your prospect in doubt, you're never going to close the sale. But holding your frame and having conviction in what you do and really illustrating that conviction to your prospect is going to slowly but surely, depends on the number of objections. It could be so many little objections, so many little loops you're going to have to do and rebuttals that it's going to take, 5 to 10, right? Or it could be there's one tiny objection, or the price. I can't afford it. Okay, well, cool, payment plan. Boom. One objection, sorted. But that framing is super, super important. You've got to hold your frame throughout the objection handling process. So I hope that helped you guys in just trying to understand objection handling a little bit better. But what I need you to do is I need you to kind of change your kind of mindset around objection handling and really learn to love them and to love objections. Because if someone gives you an objection, you can then close them. There's an opportunity 9 times out of 10 that you can close that prospect. And having an objection shows a level of interest, shows a level of, oh yeah, I'm interested. I want to make this work, but can I? And it's like, okay, cool. All I've got to do is just get you into my frame. And I need to understand you as a prospect. I need to understand your wants, understand your concerns, and really understand the objection to then get you in my frame and get you to the place where you want to be, where you're buying the product and you're getting the results with it. But I hope that helped, guys. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.